guess what? There's more bad news coming out of Ukraine. Bad news meaning for Ukraine and the people who support Ukraine. So that's the bad news. For people who support, people who think Ukraine are in the right or good people or whatever. I'm not talking about the people of Ukraine. I'm talking about the government. Zelensky is ratified. So Zelensky, by the way, so Zelensky is as bad as any right-wing dictator in the world. All right? Just so you know. These are not good people. He's in bed with literal Nazis. Okay?
The actual people are getting screwed by.
and the actual people, he screwed over his own country. And here's more proof that Zelensky's screwing over his own country. So recently, Zelensky ratified a law, 5371, which strips 70% of Ukrainian workers of their collective bargaining rights. It also introduces 0-hour contracts. If you know anything about those are horrible for workers.
What is that?
0-hour contracts is like you don't get a schedule, you don't get you're like at will. They'll call you at will. You come in, they can fire you at will. You have to come in whenever they say, stuff like that. Now, some people, I'm sure there's a percentage of people in the world who like that.
Well, it might be a type of job that lends itself to
right.
that. But this is 70% of the job.
Yeah, they're trying to, but so they're introducing 0-hour contracts, and they allow the state to confiscate trade union property.
I didn't understand what that meant. What's their property?
I'll tell you in a sec. The price of admission into imperialist alliance is heavy. So what is happening here is the goddamn capitalists, the imperialists that wanted this war in the first place, are going to have control now. And this is, you're going to see what's going to happen if you let corporations run a country. And this is it.
It's a perfect spot because it's like a corrupt lull. You could really test out all your weird.
So, this is from a place called Morningstar. It says Ukrainian law is stripping workers of collective bargaining rights slammed by the TUCs. So here it is. It's going to legalize 0-hour contracts and removes collective bargaining rights from employees of small and medium-sized enterprises, saying employers may negotiate individual contracts with such workers who comprise 70% of the Ukrainian workforce. Another law, so here's another law concerning the disposition of what had been public property in the Soviet period, says all such property should revert to the Ukrainian state, which Economic Development Committee Chair Dmytro Nalahuka has openly said should involve a state confiscation of trade union property.
Yeah, so what is that?
I don't know. I'm going to guess that means like trade union halls, stuff like that. Does that make sense? Like they'll confiscate their property. Is that what? Yeah. TUC General Secretary Sharon Burrow said it was grotesque that Ukraine was attacking its own workers. That's what Zelensky's doing. He's attacking his own workers as they struggle to keep the economy running amid the Russian invasion.
In World War II, did they do that? Did they not have unions and get rid of collective bargaining when they had the big industrial push for World War II? Everybody went back to work. Did they have unions, or did they say, "Oh, there's no unions"? I
don't know if they had unions back then. I know that women went to work. That's when women, Rosie the Riveter, and all that stuff happened. But then when they came back, did they take their jobs back, and did they form? I'm reading Richard Wolff. He would know about that. So what this is telling us, Kurt, is that the people who make Zelensky's T-shirts can now be paid like third world slaves.
Oh, good.
But they're keeping those jobs in Ukraine. What's not to like?
Yeah, it's streamlined.
What's not to like? The threat to confiscate the property of the unions is aimed at stopping them from opposing the draconian bills. And it will allow oligarchs to take future ownership of them at bargain basement prices. So yeah, whatever union halls, union property, buildings, they're going to take them over.
That's what they did when the Soviet Union fell. Like everybody got shares of this stuff, and then a few oligarchs bought everybody's shares under. Everybody got screwed. Yeah.
Despite the war, Ukrainian politics seems to be business as usual, only now under martial law. And I mean, if they don't end up with an oligarchy under martial law, what did all those Azov Nazis die for in the first place? Am I right?
You don't want it to be in vain there.
Zelensky got the trains to run on time. That's what they're going to be saying. So this guy Powell Wargan, he figured out something. He says the British Foreign Office has been spearheading a major campaign of capitalist propaganda advising Ukraine on the benefits of liberalizing labor law. Liberalizing. That's not liberalizing. It looks like they got their way, throwing Ukrainian workers right back into the 19th century. So he goes on and he says this, of course, has to be seen in the context of a much broader agenda of plunder. Consider this recent RAND proposal on Ukraine's post-war reconstruction. So, the RAND Corporation, right? So that's why that's where we got the Pentagon Papers from, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
Yeah.
From the RAND? Wow.
Yeah. Can you check that out? I'm pretty sure that's where Daniel Ellsberg got them from. So this is some, the RAND Corporate, this is what they want to do to Ukraine.
Oh, this is where we talk about their potential hydrocarbons? Is that what this is?
Yeah, yes. So this is how they want to split up Ukraine after the war. So that's what this was always about. From creating an efficient market for private land to speeding privatization in 3,300 state-owned enterprises, the plans of the RAND Corporation. So this is called neoliberalism, where they privatize everything, and every function of government becomes a profit center for a corporation or a capitalist.
But they're going to do it way more than they could someplace like here, even.
Yes, they're going to do. Yes,
Ukraine. Wow.
Right. Well, they just got rid of collective bargaining for 70% of the workers in the whole country.
That should invite investment.
Yeah, that will invite investment. So this is what the RAND Corporation has. So this is what the capitalists are thinking about doing in Ukraine. And I'll read you a little bit of it. Economic and rule of law reforms may be most important. Creating an efficient market for private land, establishing judicial independence with competent apolitical judges, and speeding privatization and management improvements there it is. And then, but again, reforms could be better persuade creditors to lower Ukraine's debts. So if you do all this shit that's bad for the people and the workers, the bankers will be nicer to you.
You can get more debt.
That's right. And so there's even more. Discussions about the voluntary nature of NATO accession belie the fact that the alliances. So this is what you have to do to get, if you want to join NATO, this is what they had to get him to. This is what Joe Biden said back, I think, in 1997, when they were trying to get Poland into NATO. Want to hear what Joe Biden was saying back then in 19. He stressed the importance of shock therapy. Here, I'll read it to you. Small and medium enterprises are in private hands, and new private businesses continue to be created. In addition, the mass privatization plan represents a major step toward giving Polish people a direct stake in the economic future of their country.
Like 3 Polish people who I know personally.
Yes.
Look, this is not the time to stop. I believe that large state-owned enterprises should also be placed in the hands of private owners so they can be operated with economic. That's how you get that hospital bed situation.
So that's why you don't have any ICU beds in the United States, because instead of us doing things for the common good, we're doing things for the private
political things. No way.
Yeah. So if it makes money, then we'll do it. If it doesn't, we don't do it. That's neoliberalism. If it makes money for a capitalist, we'll do it. Like vaccines. But if it doesn't make money for a capitalist, like an ICU bed, it just doesn't get done.
Right.
And there it is in black and white. And that's what Joe Biden was predicting for Poland in 1997.
Well, look, that's how we get to go into space. It's got to make money for a guy who.
So if you want, and this is the Republican and the Democratic Party both think like this. This isn't a Democrat or a Republican issue. This is the one-party neoliberal imperialism. And I'll read it to you one more time. It says, I believe that large state-owned enterprises should also be placed into the hands of private owners. So that means, like, the roads and bridges,
maybe the military,
and the military, and public transportation, and public hospitals, and public education, all that stuff, public parks and lands, all that stuff should be given over to private hands.
Water.
water, power, everything. So there you go. There's your piece of shit Ukrainian president who everybody still thinks is a hero because they watch the news and think it's real. Congratulations, you dumb fucks.
Well, he could have run away, but he stayed.
He stayed. He stayed. Hey, we're coming to Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Detroit, Los Angeles, Spokane, Tacoma, Denver. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all our tickets for all our live shows. See you there.